You know, how we react to a loss has a great impact on our lives. Whether it's a loss of something insignificant like some pocket change, a valuable possession, keepsake, our home, our car, or even our loved ones, we'll always have some sort of reaction to it. We can react anywhere from, oh well, to being completely devastated by the loss. Today I'm going to talk about some of our typical reactions to losses and how some of us have the ability to bounce back quickly, get back up on the horse, and move on with our lives. I have a few stories I will tell you that'll help with your resilience to losses, and also how to reframe things so that the losses won't have such a great impact on you. My first story is about a friend that I used to work with years ago. It was about around the same time my dad was ill and had passed away or was close to passing away. And his mother passed away fairly quickly. She developed stomach cancer, and by the time it was diagnosed, she was pretty much done. And within a week or so, I think it was, I'm trying to remember, this was quite some time ago, she passed away. And I noticed that he was grieving. I mean, you know, he would sometimes in his cubicle cry at work quietly. But I was thinking about how the same situation would impact me, or has impacted me, with loss of a loved one. And I was pretty much inconsolable. I was pretty much, I'm going to take some time off. I can't function at work. And he bounced back pretty quickly. One of the things I knew about him is that he had a very strong faith. And even though it was painful, the grief, the whole bit about losing his mother, he knew that she was going to a better place. And that helped him a lot with his ability to cope with the loss. He lost her in this world, but he knew he was, or believed he was going to see her in the next world. So one of the things that helps people with losses is having a faith. And what kind of faith to have, that's up to you. But anyhow, that gives us strength, especially during times of loss of any kind. So in that story, it was his faith that helped him spring back and recover quickly. I have another story. This was a story of one of my first real estate mentors. And he was talking about his mentor, one of his mentors years ago, that lost his house to a fire. And we'll call him Al, just to protect identities here. And he got called up by him and said, "Hey, my house is on fire. I got to get out. I just want to let you know that you may not be able to see me for a while because I'm going to be, obviously I'm not living there anymore." And when my mentor went over to check it out, it was still ablaze. And he was asking him, "What are you going to do? That's your house. All your personal possessions are in there. You have a car in there, whatever. What's going on?" And Al looked at him and had a smile on his face. He says, "My wife and I are okay. We got out. Yeah, we didn't get out with much, but we're alive, we're safe." And he actually looked down in his hands, and Al was holding a couple flyers from some of the other houses that were for sale in the neighborhood. And he was thinking, and I would think the same way, it's like, what the heck? Your house is burning down. Well, here's the thing. It's kind of a mindset deal. Number one, the guy was quite wealthy. He was also a real estate investor and was fairly well off. And so one of the morals of that story is being able to survive financially. Even though he lost his house, he had the ability through insurance and also his own wealth to be able to rebuild if he had to, or move, like what he was thinking about doing. So one of the things is not to allow ourselves to get in a financial situation where we can't bounce back. So that means if you have a home or a car, have insurance, uh, develop a lifestyle and mindset and income to where you do have some wealth that can cover things like having to move, having to either rebuild, or buy a new home. The other is just how he thought about things. See, to Al, things are things, meaning that, um, excuse me a second, meaning that things are replaceable and things are things. They're not, they don't have that much value. You may have some things in your life that say, plaques on honors or ribbons from competition, some hand-me-downs from family, friends like that. There's some things that you can't replace. A lot of things you can't. Television set, your clothing, your bedroom furniture, your furniture in general, things you can replace. And that's the mindset he had, is things are replaceable. But he and his wife were okay. The person he loved, his kids were up and grown. They weren't in the house anymore. Everybody's okay. But he can replace things. And so he looked at his house not as something that, oh my God, I lost my house. We've raised our kids there the whole bit. He says, you know what? Stuff happens. And it's amazing that if you can start developing that kind of a mindset about your possessions, that they are replaceable. And some things aren't. You may have a classic piece of artwork that's worth thousands of dollars or whatever. Or again, you may have pictures of family members you've lost. Well, the way you look at it, those things will be lost eventually because of different issues. But anyhow, is that mindset of what really was important to him was his loved ones, not his things. What else we have here? Think of something that happened recently, the fires in Southern California. I have family that lived close to an area that burnt down. Their home was not destroyed, which we're all grateful for. But they may not be able to move back, not because of the damage to the home itself, but the possessions that they have on the inside, rugs, carpets, anything that has fabric, bedding, furniture, things like that, or kids' toys. One of the things is that smell of the smoke had permeated the area. The ash got into the house, causing things that were irreparable. Like if you've known or yourself have ever had a fire in the house, you know that things like your mattress you're gonna have to toss, because even they can clean up the stains, things like that on mattresses and other furniture. The odor and whatever other chemicals that may have been in there, toxins from things burning or in the neighborhood, can't be removed. You have to replace those things. So they're not sure if they're going to be able to move back or not. But the most important thing is he and his family still have each other. They were able to get out way before the fire got close. Is it a big blow to their life? Yeah, it is. But they're going to be okay. So what else? Oh, like the Palisades that burnt down. Some people think, well, they're all rich people, they can afford to rebuild. Well, a lot of people aren't going to rebuild because of how the fire came down. And now, because one of the things about Southern California is you'll have 1 year of dry, and that's when you have the fires. The next year you have wet. And when the fires burn, they cause the soil to do something that's kind of scary. And basically that water doesn't soak in, it runs down the hill. and it'll take down everything with it, mud, rocks, whatever. So there's a second catastrophe that's possible from that. So yeah, a lot of these people have insurance, and we've heard news reports that a lot of the insurance companies pulled out, so even the wealthiest of wealthy may not have any insurance to rebuild or whatever. Hopefully they have their nest egg, they have some wealth where they can move and things like that. But one of the things about living anywhere, especially in canyons, along the beach, whatever, Mother Nature tends to always win if she gets a little upset, whether it's fire or a storm coming in and wiping out things along the coast. Other areas of the country, you have hurricanes, you have earthquakes. Things don't last forever. Like in Altadena, in Pasadena area, a lot of those houses were generational. They were passed down from generation to generation. They're over 100 years old, like where my family members live. Their house is over 100 years old. Lots of great old architecture. Well, they burned down. You can't really replace that. But the people that lived in, they were able to get themselves and their pets out all safely. So part of what I'm trying to tell you is we all have loss. Some have more loss than others. You lose different things. It's like if you have a classic car that you've restored gets stolen, or an earthquake, the garage falls down and destroys it, whatever. We all have the loss, but how we react to that loss allows us or prohibits us from moving on in life. Finally, there's also the thing of maturity. Because I thought about this. I thought about if something like this happened to me, and I have had loss, obviously. I've been around a few years. But I started to think about things that I have in my house. I was watching the news about the fires down in Southern California. And one guy is a very famous musician. They were showing pictures of it. I don't know if he lost it or not. I know that a lot of the artists, whether actors or musicians or whoever lived along there, lost a lot of keepsakes. He had this huge guitar, or hopefully has still, this huge guitar collection. Okay, he's a guitar player, he's a singer, and it took him years and a lot of money to collect that. He may have lost it. It's sad, but they're things. What else? There was someone else that had something. I talked about how in Altadena and that area, there's really old houses, and they were passed down from generation to generation. It's not only that, but there's some people that live in that area since they were very, very young. They're very, very elderly now. And, they raise their kids there, raise their grandkids there, and that's gone. It's something you have to think about in advance. And like I said, part of this is maturity, but part of this is something we need to think about regardless of what age you are. Look around your home, look around your possessions, things like that. Imagine losing them. How are you going to react to that? Oh, I know where I was going with it originally. I was watching the news about these fires and thinking about, what would I do if I had to run out of the house and just grab a few belongings and, my family and my pets and the like, and what would I grab, at the last minute if a fire was coming at me? And I looked down at the lower corner of the TV set, and I have a little picture of my mother and father from years and years ago. And I was thinking, would I grab that if I had the time? I probably would. But on the other hand, if I lost it in a fire, how would I feel? Well, I wouldn't feel good that I lost it, but you know what? My parents, what I have of my parents is up here, my memories and in my heart, and they'll stay with me as long as I'm around. But there's a lot of things that I have that I've kept for years and years. And if it comes down to between saving what's most important, my life, my wife's life, whoever's in the house, and pets, things like that, things that you really love, you can't replace. And things, I would take that. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that you know what happens in life, and sometimes it could be very minor or very large. But how are you going to recover from that and move forward? And when it comes for loss, it is a financial thing. Um, if you lose a house or a car, you have to replace it somehow, where your home is, or your ability to get transportation around. But really think about what things are things, possessions, whether it's a lamp, or like I'm sitting at a desk right now. In front of me is my laptop, and I'm talking to you on my iPhone. The function of those things are replaceable with other things. Your car. When I was thinking about my parents' picture, I was looking around the house and I'm thinking, like, you know what? These are just things. And 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have a hard time just seeing everything as just a thing and being replaceable. Would I be able to afford to replace everything? I don't know. But if it was the difference between losing a life, something living, and a thing, an inanimate object, I know what I would pick. The same thing with the first story I told you about, my friend, coworker that lost his mother. I've had a lot of time to think about that over the years, and my faith has grown as well. And even though there's people that I do miss, that I've lost in my lifetime, I do believe personally that they're in a better place, and I'll see them someday. And having a belief like that, it really cuts down on the stress and the sorrow and everything else. So with that in mind, what I want to leave you with is basically think about what's valuable to you before you lose something. Run a scenario through your head. How would you react to that? I mean, we all have, if you're over 10 years old nowadays, with all the things that have gone on in the world, probably even younger than that, you're going to have some loss. Like I said, it's either people you love or things or whatever. And if we can think about what their meaning is and what's truly meaningful to us, we could prepare ourselves in a way to where it won't devastate us. That's really all I can say right now. But, if you have those things that are keepsakes, like bubblegum cards, or if you're a collector of baseball cards, or if you have something very, very important, things you can think about that might help you out. After seeing the devastation of the fires along the beach, if you've seen any of the video or pictures, you would see the metal work that was in those buildings bend. I mean, these fires are so hot, they melted steel. Like some of the cars that were sitting there, they had like aluminum wheels. The wheels actually melted and went down the street as liquid, not as the wheel. So things like fireproof, depends on how hot it is, I guess. Fireproof safes, putting things in safety deposit boxes, assuming that the bank has fireproofing around their safes, things like that. If it's data, duplicate it and have it more in one space, so like wherever you're at, that gets damaged. That's one of the cool things. We have the cloud. We can stick things up there and get it back. If we log in from a different source, we can bring our data back, things like that. But as far as losing things that we have an emotional attachment to, really think about what you would do if you were to lose it. You know, face it, and we're not getting any younger. So it's like I told a friend of mine, the older we get, the more likely it is you're going to have a problem, a disease of some sort. So, prepare yourself. And I really like the stories I told you about the people who lost either their home or their mother. Is there are coping mechanisms, but those coping mechanisms are better used just like learning self-defense or whatever. It's better to know it in advance than afterwards. So with that, I hope you have a great day. Think about loss. Comment down below whether you think I'm full of it, or if you had any questions or anything, I'll look back and see if I can help you out and answer them. But anyhow, we all have it, loss, and how we react to it really has impact on our lives, whether it's good or bad. All right, with that, I'm signing out. Talk to you soon.